my name is Debbie Watkins. I am from Marysville, and today I'm going to show you how to make a traditional Swiss dish that I grew up with, and it's called Knopfli. And the items that you're going to need are 8 eggs, and I've actually, I just break those in a separate dish so I can beat them. And 2 cups of half and half. If you want it to be just a little bit lighter, because this is a traditionally rich dish, but very tasty, you can substitute milk or even skim milk instead of the half and half. And then 3 teaspoons rather of salt. And I divide that. I take 1 of the teaspoons and I put it in the boiling water that I've already started on the stove, that typically I just start before I make the batter. I'm going to be using 5 cups of flour and 1 pound of Swiss cheese, and I've got that already grated. And we'll talk a little bit more about the cheese and possibly different kinds of cheese that you can use. And then also 1 stick of butter, which we're going to be browning and putting on the top. So just to get started, I use a large mixing bowl, and I'm going to beat my eggs. I beat my eggs with a whisk. You can use an egg beater if you prefer. And just get those all mixed up, and I'm going to put those in my large bowl. And then mix with that my 2 teaspoons of salt and the 2 cups of the half and half. And we're going to mix that until the ingredients are all combined. So then I'm going to take my flour, and I'm going to add a total of about 5 cups. I might need to add just a little bit more if my batter's not quite stiff enough. And we're going to add 1 cup of flour at a time. And in between every cup of flour, we're going to keep mixing. Be sure you keep scraping the sides of the bowl to just mix that flour right in. And it looks like we're almost getting there. You kind of get it to the point where you pull the whisk up or your spoon up that it's forming peaks, almost like when you're beating egg whites. We'll put the last of that 5th cup in here, and I think we've just about got it. This dish is very good served with different types of meats. Beef is one of my favorites, along with pork and even veal. It looks like we're pretty much there. So you can see the batter is stiff. My arm is getting tired, which it should. And it's forming these peaks as I'm finishing up the batters. And this was always, growing up as a kid, this was the fun part. I usually just use a large measure cup to put it in the reservoir. You can pour it right from the bowl. You have to be a little careful pouring it from the bowl that you don't burn yourself with the steam on the top of the boiling water. So I just fill my reservoir up with the batter. And then I can begin making the dumpling noodles. So what I'm going to do is just go back and forth with the top reservoir. And the little dumplings, as you can see, I'm going to put it up here, they actually drop into the water. So the little thing going back and forth is actually cutting the dumpling, it's cutting the batter to drop into the boiling water. When the dumplings are done, they actually will come up to the surface of the water, and as soon as they do, I take my slotted spoon and I'm going to take them out and put them into my pan. And I usually just use a 9x13. You can use a round casserole dish if you want. You want something that's oven safe because we are going to be baking this afterwards. So then now we're going to add my favorite ingredient, the cheese. Much like when you're layering, such as something like lasagna, we're going to do layers of the dumpling noodles and layer them with cheese in between. So I'm taking my grated Swiss cheese and I'm just going to put a nice generous layer on the top of those dumpling noodles. Once I've done another layer of these, or layer of the cheese, once I'm done with that, I can put another layer of the noodles on. So I think I'm ready for those. Once all my batter was gone and I used it all up, basically my 9x13 pan is now full of the dumpling noodles that I've been layering. And as I was saying earlier, you want to make sure that that last layer is of cheese. And so I'm going to put that last layer of cheese on. And then we can add our brown butter and we can put it in the oven. I did preheat my oven to 350 degrees for baking. You can make this dish ahead if you wish. It can be made ahead and kept in the refrigerator for a day or two, or even in the freezer for several weeks. Alrighty, and one last thing before I put it in my preheated oven, I'm going to take a layer of foil and just cover the top of it. During the baking process, we don't want it to dry out, and we don't want the cheese on the top to get too brown, and if it gets too brown, it will get tough. And I'm going to put it in my preheated oven. It was preheated at 350 degrees, and bake it for approximately 10 or 20 minutes. I'm going to set my timer for. And then after the timer goes off, I'm going to take the foil off and let it brown the rest of the way for about another 5 to 10 minutes, and then it's ready to go on the table. After 20 minutes, I took my foil off and I was letting the dish brown and the cheese brown on the top. Oh, looks good. So now I have it browned on the top. My cheese is melted. Let's eat.